What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the Dorky and 40 RC channel. Again, it has been like over a month, summertime is here. Things have been crazy. Kind of took a little bit of a break from racing. We've got some big oval races coming up. Super excited about that. We did get out and run the R1B. Going to be running that tomorrow. Summer crowd, really nice day in May when we took the B1 out. And the good thing about the RB1 is that I was able to get better each round and maintain consistency and win all three of the AAA mains we did that day and throw down my fastest laps of the day in the last AAA main. And that's exactly what you want out of a buggy. Like you want to see progression and you also want to see consistency. And that's what we got out of it. And I was very shocked how fast it happened. It's not like all of a sudden I became some magic builder or tuner overnight. I mean, yes, I've been doing this for a while and some of it's a big deal. Some of it's not. It's just club level. This ain't like pro shit. But, the few changes that we made worked and the buggy accepted it. And it wasn't like throwing hundreds of dollars of option parts at it like we did with the B7. We found some problems with it now that I think a lot of people have had it out and it's become common known. People just aren't going to say I'm a shitty driver because all of the things that I spoke about have been vindicated. But, keyboard or warriors are out there. I had a commenter ask me what kind of lube I like to use, whatever it takes to get the job done, my man. And another one said, you are not as important as you think you are. And I would say my mama would disagree with you. Anyway, let's get on with the show talking about the R1B. Where is it? Down here on the floor. I am fixing up some tires for tomorrow. I ran these last week. One important tip on buggies, especially for beginning people. If you get in a situation where you're gluing your sidewalls on carpet, you always want to make sure that you check your beads and you make sure that you got a nice and consistent bead going on there and that things aren't like broken apart, flaking off and all that kind of stuff. When you get to racing a little bit better and you're more in tune with how cars drive and stuff, the smallest things like that can really just kind of like ruin your day and you go chasing stuff and you wonder why. So, but doing that, some battery testing. So we've got our batteries and stuff ready to go. So right off the bat, the R1B, the hinge pin thing, I broke a few hinge pins like right off the bat. Barely clipping anything. One time, I think I lost a hinge pin on an arm just from landing a jump. And I was running the steel bulkhead. Now, I noticed where mine were shearing. It was on the chassis side, the way I was running it, and it was not beveled. So I did end up beveling both sides of the steel bulkhead. I've got various hardened inner hinge pins now. I've got some Armas. I've got some Avids for the B7. I see R1 Works came out with some. They all fit. So shouldn't have a problem with that. Front arms, I am going to go through right now and do that. These front arms are probably, I think the kit arms, except for one, they need to file down a little bit. So they're a little bit looser. And really all I have done is just bled the shocks. The buggy, we ran it with the setup that I pretty much dialed in for me and my track at the time, ran perfect. Let me get some of this stuff out of the way here and we will go over the car a little bit. So we started out racing last week or whenever we did with just the actual just stock motor class in it. And I like to do that because that's what the B7 is running. And it's kind of like my second backup type of car. And running at a lower speed type of a thing just kind of gets you a little bit of a better feel than what the car is capable of doing. dial it in a little bit before you start throwing massive power out. That's just kind of how I roll. So I put the 21.5 open. That's one of our classes that we run. This is the new V30R. This thing tested amazingly well. I am very happy with this motor. Probably better motor than I actually am going to actually ever need, because you know, buggies are just a fun thing I do. Oval racing is my jam, and that is where I dedicate all of my time and effort and energy. So, but I still want a car that performs and runs very well. So I'm leaving the just stock ESC in it. Simpler is better to me. I don't need to get into all the crazy tuning and all that shit with ESC stuff. I do enough of that stuff in my radio, which, by the way, got a radio, learn how to use your ABS settings. As you'll see, some of the corners that I'm showing here right now, off camber stuff and everything, you know, being able to use ABS on your remote where basically you can brake without skidding out is just one of the most important ways to just gain track time and be able to maintain your line. So what other issues did we have with the car? I haven't had anything with it yet. I've seen people are stripping idlers, and you know, it is what it is. I haven't taken it apart to see if my diff is leaking. Figured I would just run it a couple times and then go from there. I have the aluminum bulkhead in there now, and then I added a piece of CRC tungsten here. I've got a lot of this stuff, really good price for tungsten since it's super expensive. And that puts me a couple grams over minimum weight when running these SMC batteries. Battery position is one back, 42.5 and 40 in my shocks. Factory setup as far as all of that stuff goes, I changed nothing yet when it comes to ball cup position, anything. I think I did make one change and reduced the toe a little bit on here. So I think I'm at 2 or 1 degree rear toe. I'd have to double check that to make sure. Red R1 springs in the front, gray in the rear. That could change tomorrow because we do have our new carpet installed. So grip should be a little bit different. It's not new carpet, but it is new to us and way better than what we were running. I have 20K in the diff. I have a second diff that I may or may not build tonight or tomorrow at the track. With 30K, I don't like to run crazy diffs because unless I have to, we'll see what happens with the grip at the track. You know, our track is small, you know, it's not some giant complex. It is what it is. It's a place for us to go and race and have fun. There are some larger tracks around, but if I'm going to invest my entire like big weekend day and all that stuff like that, again, it's going to be with oval. It's not going to be with off-road. That's just where I am at right now. As far as anything else, I've went through and just kind of like, double checked everything, bled my shocks just on the buggy to run tomorrow. Front up here, I may have got, more likely I did, got my ball links and stuff, the kind of like confused when I was building it because I kind of dumped stuff out and I was in the process of switching over some old titanium stuff with like the steel stuff that I had. And so I had a lot of play inside one of them. So I've unbolted this setup here from my B7, bolted the B7 setup on there, and everything is great. No slop. I'm sticking to the plastic. I don't really think the aluminum's like worth it for me. It's very great plastic, super rigid plastic. Awesome stuff. And I put another setup on that on the B7 that will just be going to the track and sitting there ready to run just stock in case anybody else shows up and we need enough to make a class. So I was running the associated hexes Went with R1 hexes just because I get a little bit of a discount from R1. And of course, I would like to keep everything black. No problem with bearings or anything yet that I know of. Everything seems pretty squeaky clean. And, you know, overall, just no problems with the buggy at all. Like, I wish there was like a lot more to talk about. I didn't have any bent drive shafts or anything like that. Still running all the plastic internal gears. Not going to just start throwing upgrades and parts and stuff at this one like we did before. Enough is enough. I see that today they released carbon fiber chassis stiffeners. Aluminum for carpet is all I'm ever going to need. I don't think I am good enough of a buggy racer that I'm ever going to be able to tell the flex differences, but you can tell the way that the actual car performs when it doesn't have it versus the 5 gear. I definitely noticed throughout the day as I was going through the heats that I was able to steer more on power than off power. And I'm not talking about like full blast where it's just going to push anyway, but like just giving it power and making the diff help rotate. A lot of that stuff, like the B7 with the 5 gear and the setup that I had, just didn't have, I had to drive it more of like a cleaner line off power and just kind of wait for the rear end to come around, where with this, the way that the rear end is kind of like bound up a little bit more, it's not as free, you know, which you could totally change by going with the chassis flex that we were talking about, or, you know, some pill changes will go a little bit as far as that goes too. But, you know, I like a pretty rigid front end and I like a stiffer rear end for just how I drive. Now, that's in a stock, very, very just stock class. Now with this having more timing, more power, different torque and power handling, I might need to free the rear end up. I might need to tighten the rear end up. We don't know what is going to happen. So luckily I've got different springs. I'm not going to take any oil tomorrow. I don't foresee having anything like that. The only thing I foresee that I might have to do right off the bat would be to do a diff change and bump up the diff fluid. I just like going up in small increments. So like I said, we got 20K in here. We'll throw the 30K bottle in there and we'll go from there. Other than that, I mean, I'm super happy with this thing, and I think anybody would be genuinely super happy with like the base model kit and just a couple of springs and a few things that you need just to like make the car setup dialed in for a little bit more of your racing conditions. So there's just nothing like bad that I can say about it. There's teething problems, obviously, totally fine. You know, like we went through so much of that shit with like the drag racing cars, the DC1, like the Apollo, all that stuff. I know a lot of people have been asking about like B6, B7 type of stuff. You can put a B6 idler gear in this transmission and everything will run fine. If you want to run all of your B7 components, like I have all of the ultralight stuff in that one from R1, you have to change the entire thing. So you have to change out drives, you know, the actual diffs, your dog bones, CVAs, everything from end to end has to change because they did kind of make a little bit of a change inside of here, which won't let you just pop in a B7 diff or swap out dog bones. So like you have to make the complete change. As far as that, like the gears and all that kind of stuff obviously will work. I'm using B7 slipper gears or B6 slipper gears with my old R1 carbon fiber slipper pads. And I see that they did come out with some wider. I have their ultralight pinions on here, which, you know, are light and it's fine, but I'm not really a big fan. I would like to have a little bit more excuse me, engagement back there on my spur gear. I don't really think it's a problem, but it's just kind of like one of those nice to haves, and their servo just can't be beat. I mean, it just honestly can't. But again, a lot of the tuning and stuff like that is going to be in your remote. Like that's just pretty much the way it is when it comes to like ABS settings, your steering speed, throttle speed, reverse curves, whatever you need to do to like keep your buggy straight, to keep your power delivery like where you need it within your limits. A lot of people talk about, I see a couple comments about running like a 10 turn or a 6 turn or whatever, and how can I gear it and control it and all this stuff. And my response always is going to be cut your throttle EPA to like 80%, dude, and like get out there and work it up. Like it's not fun just flipping over and traction rolling all day long and getting marshaled. Like turn laps. That's what you need to do. Turn laps. So that's it. I will be back if we, after running this motor tomorrow and see how things go. It's summertime. It's going to be a small crowd. We'll be lucky to get like 10 to 15 people tomorrow. It's going to rain, so we'll see what happens. So that's it, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video and the racing footage. So we will talk to you guys later.